What is Bitcoin and blockchain? Bitcoin is a payment protocol created in 2009 by an entity or alias known as Satoshi Nakamoto. It was designed and created to be a type of internet currency or digital cash built using blockchain technology. We will go more into the blockchain technology later on in this video. Bitcoin is permissionless, immutable, and decentralized. We'll start off with permissionless. Permissionless means that you do not require any permission from any central authority or bank or company to be an active participant of the network. You do not require an account. You do not need to show any evidence of who you are to be an active participant of the network. It is also immutable, so you cannot edit or delete anything that has already been published on the blockchain. You can only add onto it. So everything that is published on the blockchain, on the Bitcoin network, cannot be destroyed or changed in any way once it's already been published. Lastly, it is decentralized. So it's not owned by any company or central authority like your Netflix, Yahoo, or eBay accounts. These are all central companies with the central point of authority with a central server. So at any point when these servers go down, you have lost access to anything that these servers hold, to any information these servers hold. So if you are on Netflix and the Netflix server goes down, you will not have any access to any of your Netflix movies. If you are using your bank account and the bank servers go down, as that is they have central servers. If the bank central server goes down, you will not be able to access your funds or you make payments on your banking network. So Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer network which eliminates the use of a middleman, in this case banks, or any payment providers such as PayPal or Stripe, etc. So normally when you make a purchase on eBay, when you go to buy a new guitar and you're buying from a seller, you would make a payment not from you to the seller. You make a payment from you to PayPal. PayPal then accepts that payment, verifies it, and then sends that payment to the seller. But that usually occurs at a type of fee. So with Bitcoin, it eliminates the use of that. It is strictly between you, the buyer, and the seller. And the only transaction that goes on is between you and him. With Bitcoin, you also control and own your own money. So if you're using a bank app and there's that money that's shown on your bank app, that bank actually owns that money. You need permission to go to the grocery store and buy a jug of milk. With Bitcoin, you control all your funds with your own private keys. And you can choose to do whatever you want with it. You could buy drugs with it. You can buy a cake with it. You could buy a fridge. You could send money from Australia to China, and you do not require any permission. With the banking services we have today, if I wanted to send money from Australia to America and I wanted to send $1 billion, that would take weeks and weeks on end, and it would probably cost a very hefty fine or a fee to send that much money over to America. And if my cousin's house burnt down and he needs that money immediately, or he's going to live in the streets, he needs direct access to that money straight away. With Bitcoin, I could send $10 billion to my cousin in America because he needs that money straight away to buy a new house. And so if I want to do it with the traditional banking system, that would take weeks on end. But if I want to do it with Bitcoin, it would take in a matter of minutes. So that's just a brief introduction to Bitcoin. Now we'll talk about blockchain. So blockchain is a type of encryption technology which uses cryptography, hence the term cryptocurrency. So the blockchain uses data that is appended together, which is known as blocks. So this data that is all stuck together are known as blocks, hence blockchain. With blockchain technology, with Bitcoin blockchain technology specifically, you can add, but you can never edit or delete any transactions. So all transactions, which are data, are added to the blockchain and they are appended together to form this chain. You cannot delete or edit any of these transactions. You can only add on to it. It's a continuous chain. With the Bitcoin blockchain, it is a type of public database, a public ledger, that everyone has access to this ledger. Everyone can see all transactions ever made from the beginning, from the first transaction on Bitcoin to the last. And you can track all these transactions from the beginning to the end to see where those transactions have ended up to what addresses. This is known as pseudo-anonymity, that these addresses are not directly tied to you, to your alias, to your persona. So you won't know that Alice is sending to Frank. You'll just have an address. You can track the addresses to which all these Bitcoins are sent to, and you can track it from the beginning all the way to the end. And the Bitcoin blockchain is run by a global network of computers, a global network of nodes, which verify the payments, and all active node downloads a copy of the entire Bitcoin blockchain onto their computer and has a transaction history from the beginning, from the first transaction ever made to the present. So we're going to go in more detail about this now. So here, all these people here, Jeff, John, Alex, Frank, Lucy, and Mike, these are all, we'll call them nodes. These are all computers using the Bitcoin blockchain. So their job is to verify all payments going through and to ignore any false information. In the Bitcoin blockchain, no transaction can be changed or deleted, like we said before. An important thing to note is there's no single point of failure in the Bitcoin blockchain at all. So if Alex decides he wants to disconnect, or if his computer gets blown up by a nuke or whatever, he will disappear, but there will be another person or another node to take his place. And I only have 6 people here, but this Bitcoin blockchain, these nodes, there's hundreds and thousands, maybe even millions of nodes spread all across the globe, which all have a copy of every transaction ever made on the Bitcoin blockchain. So there's no central point of failure. If one node goes down and another node replaces it, if a million nodes go down, another million nodes will come and replace it at some point in time. And each of these nodes will have a copy of the entire Bitcoin transaction history. So we'll give an example here. So just say Frank wants to send Jeff 1 Bitcoin. So Frank announces to the network he's sending 1 Bitcoin to Jeff, and he signs off that signature and sends it to Jeff. Everyone downloads that transaction. That transaction is recorded forever and stuck into the blockchain, and it is immutable. It will be there forever for the end of time. You cannot delete it or change it. Jeff decides he wants to be a foul player and say, no, Frank sent me 100 Bitcoin instead of 1. And Jeff announces that Frank sent 100 Bitcoin. That gets announced, and everyone checks the transaction history. And then something happens.
Frank only sent you 1 Bitcoin.
Everyone checks their transaction history from before and sees that Frank only sent Jeff 1 Bitcoin. This false proclamation from Jeff then gets rectified and gets ignored, and they look at the past transaction history and say, no, Frank only sent Jeff 1 Bitcoin, and that false proclamation from Jeff is simply ignored. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and check out the next video that will be coming out shortly about blockchain and Bitcoin provenance.